So at first, I went to the thermostat to turn it up. Not only does it get the furnace to turn on to make sure that it's part of the check is to make sure that the thermostat calls for heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also lets me know what kind of thermostat they have, because that's part of the check is to add it to our equipment and make sure we have it. Inside here, there's a data plate that has the model number and the serial number and data manufacturer. And I match up the model number and the serial number with what we have on record, because there's nothing worse than working on a furnace that's not the furnace you're supposed to be working on.
Great. Yeah, exactly.
So take it to 2007. And I'm going to turn it off so we don't cook them upstairs.
Because sometimes people have more than one furnace in their house.
That's correct. Or sometimes our equipment list might show an older furnace that may have had a newer furnace replaced, and we don't update the system. So sometimes we'll have 2 furnaces or more listed, and they only have one. So you want to verify it's the same one. This one is. And that was turn up the thermostat. It's running, but I don't want to get it hot because I'm going to be touching the burners, so I turned it off. We also don't want to cook anybody in the house. Write down, yes, it's running, the brand of thermostat, if it's digital or mercury or round, and then we want to check and see if the ductwork's dirty. It looks like they had the ducts cleaned 2011, and that they're due actually next in September. So
yeah, look at all their Ballard natural gas.
Looks like, yeah, they got all
there we go. They got all their stickers. Great.
That's a good thing. So.
And you brought a vacuum to do that, right?
Correct. Also, this needs to be cleaned. I like to leave it cleaner than I found it. Doesn't look like you did anything if you don't clean it.
Exactly.
And yeah, they could probably use a duct cleaning, so that's something I'm probably going to recommend. When I'm finished, so on my checklist, I'm going to write yes, the ducts are dirty. Usually we recommend a duct clean every 3 to 5 years. In this situation, it's probably closer to 3.
Because they have multiple cats. Yeah. Gotcha.
We check the intake venting. Make sure there's no leaves, bunch of dead spires. If that blocks that, then the furnace will stop running. So we pull this up, look in there. Make sure that's good. It's got a kind of weird bending. Here, it's grounded right there. You can see the green wires. These are grounding wires.
Mm-hmm.
They're grounded right to that. So we can say yes, the electrical's grounded. And we check the circuit board for burn spots, any sort of shorts or anything like that. I don't see any sign of that, and it's not.
Great. And you said this was a 2007 furnace?
Which means, yeah, it's about August 07, so it's exactly 7 years old. As long as they maintain it, it should last for a while. Cleaning is an extra fee, but for the 5-star, you clean the pre-filters for them.
Nice.
These are every 90 days. This is annually. Actually, in this house, I do it every 6 months. But I'll be sure. You want to make sure the electrical contacts are all covered up. Make sure it's got a clean shot of electricity. So then we wipe off the AC. Everything works better when it's clean. Except soap. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off the burner box cover. This gives me access to the burner box, the igniter, the flame rod. And right here is the igniter, and you unplug this. Okay,
what
so
do you see back there?
I don't know how well you can see in there, but it's really, really rusty.
Okay.
That's not good. So as part of the maintenance first we'll get to this. So I pull each individual burner out, and they sit in there like this, and the fire or the gas shoots through here. The fire starts on the igniter side and jumps over all three. And then on the left side here's a flame rod, which I'm also going to pull out and clean. That senses that the flame made it all the way across, and it tells the circuit board, hey, we got fire in all three spots. You can go ahead and start the blower. The big important part is to pull these out, and you want to clean these little, because the gas comes out here, but these are bridges, so the gas jumps from one burner to the next. So you want to make sure that there's not a lot of corrosion built up. So you pull them out, and what I do, and I'm not even positive whether this is good or bad, it's like rotating tires. I'll take them out, but I'll rotate them all over one. It's kind of like rotating the tires on it. That way, hopefully they corrode evenly.
Evenly, yeah.
And anything under 20 ohms, that's the resistance ohms right there. Anything under 20 is good. If it was at 19, I'd recommend replacing the igniter. At 15.7, it's totally fine. Works great. Showing no signs of going out. What it'll do is it'll climb up, and then over 20 it'll just hit 0 and won't work anymore. And then you're replacing that. So on my checklist I can put that it's 15.8, and that way we can also watch from inspection to inspection. We can look at the history and see if it was 14.8 and now it's 15.8, and you know it
It's
starts
going up.
climbing up, so we can hopefully catch problems before they become expensive, or more expensive. So now I'm going to pull the flame rod. I just cleaned the burners. I'm going to pull the flame rod out. And it looks exactly like it sounds. It's just a rod. And then we make sure to get, you can see the black on there, the corrosion buildup. So we clean that off. That's because fire's getting shot at it. So I want to get all that cleaned off as much as possible. And still dark, but it's not, you know, coated.
Coated,
So when I'm outside and it's not running, so I turn it on now because it takes like 60 seconds to warm up. And then we're going to turn the furnace on. I'm going to get my amperage readings from the inducer motor, exhaust motor, however you want to look at it. So it turns on first to establish an exhaust in the right pressure, and it's at 0.81 amps, which is normal. So we put that on our checklist. And our fire turns on, jumps over, the flame rod will sense that there's fire, and then it'll tell the circuit board, go ahead and turn on the blower. And then that is over that. So, while we're waiting, kind of ramp up. And that is high fire, and that's when we can do our carbon monoxide test. Right here, it's really convenient. These inducers have a little plug, so you don't have to drill a hole like someone in the past has done up there. You can just pop this out. Wait for that to go into high fire. Going into high fire. At the same time, I'm looking at my amperage reading from the blower motor. So I'll stick this in here, and I'll hit run on here. What we're looking at, CO is carbon monoxide. When you're running it, that's our parts per million. And if it goes over 100, we've got a red tag. It means there's a hole in the heat exchangers, which was the rust earlier that I was worried about. So we're going to watch that thing and see how high it goes while I'm writing this down. Monoxide output was only 12 parts per million, which is pretty low. Normally I see it anywhere between 10 and like 22 or 23. That's the best way, or the fastest way to tell whether there's a hole in the heat exchangers. If there's if the rust breaks through the heat exchangers, or if there's a crack or a hole in it, that'll go up over 100 parts per million.
The carbon monoxide.
Right. And at 55 parts per million, you could start getting headaches.
Wow.
And then I guess federal law says that you can't have it over 400 parts per million, but Washington state law says only 100 parts per million. So
So
luckily, that rust I was worried about, it could just be on the outside, but it is there is some kind of a moisture issue down here. But there's no hole in it, so that's good.
great. So you said at 55 parts per million, you can start getting headaches.
Yeah, if you're exposed to it for like 8 hours straight,
Okay.
you'll get headaches.
And then Washington law says if
100
it's,
parts per million.
then you have to red tag it.
Right. But at that point, you don't want to be, spewing carbon monoxide around your
Oh no, oh no.
Service and inspection, and then I'm writing surge protector, and then my name, so that the next technician that comes here from any company can see the history of what was done here. When they come here and install the earthquake valve, they'll write the earthquake valve on there as well.
Great.
I'm also